Hello and welcome. My name is Esther. I'm an artist, spiritualist, healer. I do many things primarily in person, but this is just another way that I like to just remind the collective and those around the world how valued and supported you are. So today I thought, well, we are now, in October. And I thought we should kind of check into where to focus your energy for the month of October because it is a fairly auspicious time. It's an inward time, a reflective time, a Michael Michaelmas for those of you who know it, but it's really about the inner being and checking in with the self. So what kind of energies we need to know now for the collective? Those of you who are really doing the work, those of you who have really been through a lot of transformation and change this year. And so what kind of energies or areas you need to focus on through October for your highest and best good. So let's just see what comes through today. I never really totally know what's going to come through. That's where it's so magical with the cards and why I love doing this, because it's ultimately about the spiritual realms helping all of us to move through these times. As we know, the veil's so thin and we're in such a special and miraculous time in humanity. So first and foremost, we're going to pull from the Earth Oracles and see what they have to say. There we go. And so let's see what comes through for what you need to focus on primarily for the energy of October. Beautiful. Phenomenal. Okay. First and foremost, you got consistency. Look at that. These cards are so stunning. I just love them. So very much this sun and moon energy, both the waking and the dream state, right? The polarization of light and dark. You've also got the birds with the spiritual, but it's also very much to do with the inward. And look at all of this energy of the spiritual realms, right? So staying consistent with your practices and with the spiritual energies. I think that's honestly quite evident. You also got expectation. So this has got that buffalo grounded energy as well as this dragonfly. So that's very, very wise. This cloak of this higher development of wisdom from the earth energies remaining grounded. But what is your expectation, right? And that can mean your higher self. What is your higher self? What is it you're being called to? Where can you remain consistent to actually bring about the fruition of what you're expecting for your future, what we would like to happen for your future, where this year's changes and transformations have crumbled away what is not aligned and made space for the new, and where you can take accountability for that, because consistency is necessary, and the accountability to really bring in what it is that you want, what it is you're expecting for your highest self, what your highest self is also expecting from you, what the spiritual realm is also expecting from you. Very threefold in that energy. And then you've also got dependability. Now, this is very divine. This can both be with, are you a dependable person with those you love, whether you're in a relationship, or if you're single, is it a dependability within the unison of your divine masculine, divine feminine coming into harmony? And with all these rainbow colors, this is very much about the chakras, right? The energetic body coming into alignment, the lotus, the harmony, right? And as we know, the divine energy through the chakras is the balance of the masculine and the feminine in harmony, because we all carry both energies. Wow, this is amazing. So we're also going to put, I'm going to bring Work Your Light Oracle as well, just to gain clarity on this before we pull tarot, because with you having this consistency, this is really about honoring the responsibility of what your wishes and your dreams are, honoring the responsibility of the changes that came through in your life this year, and really honoring what it is that you're transforming into and aligning into, like showing up as you speak, right? Aligning into those new habits, patterns, decisions, accountability, responsibility, and inner authority, inner worth, right? Being resilient on your own and working on the self, because ultimately we need to bring the self into wholeness to be anything of value for the earth, for the world, and for humanity. And honestly, to birth along with the consciousness evolution in this immensely miraculous time of being alive. So we're going to just pull Work Your Light Oracle in tandem with these to just really understand the consistency, a clarity on that, where you can work your light in that area. Also expectation, what is your higher self, your spiritual team calling you to really work on, right? And what are you expecting for your future? And what does that mean? Where can you work your light in that regard? And then dependability, how are you showing up for others and the self? Are you dependable? Are you reliable? Are you honoring within that realm? So first and foremost, consistency, spirit. Work your light for the collective. How can they focus there? Wow. Protection. Call back your power. Cut the cords. Soul retrieval. That's quite powerful. Quite powerful. So consistency in your protection. So you may need to be focusing on boundaries and really doing the inner work, really getting that time to be more introspective within your spiritual practices through the month of October, because this is an opportunity of inward. So that makes great sense. Okay. We'll speak about that further in a moment. Expectation. Work your light, spirit. What can the collective know for expectation? 2 came out. Leap, you go first. The universe will catch up. Exactly. So you need to action it, and therefore the transformations will happen. Secondly, you got Lumeria, creating heaven on earth. It's happening. There you go. So it's really leading you to your divinity, to your soul's work, and why you incarnated at this time for the earth. So this is no small feat. This is quite a serious spread that's coming through, because honestly, when you spiritually evolve, it is no small feat. And you have to take accountability, responsibility, and truly honor that devotion, honor that responsibility, because once you elevate the spiritual world, when you have a higher soul calling, you almost have a higher responsibility, a higher level of maturity, a higher level of expectation. That's really interesting. Okay, and finally, dependability in your inner and outer world. Spirit, what does the collective most need to know on how to work their light in regards to dependability? Any clarity there? Dependability and best advice for the collective, please, Spirit. Best advice for dependability. So we wanted to slip out there. We'll wait for what drops. Dependability, please, Spirit. Best advice for the collective, how they can work on being in that dependability energy to work their light. Okay. Awakening. Energetic upgrades, a new way of being, integration. Yeah. Your dependability will come within the honor of self, right? This is very much an ascension spread today. So this is quite a powerful spread. I will not be surprised if this goes long. Typically, the readings keep going quite long right now because there's so much that the spiritual world wants to remind you of. What a fabulous and miraculous time. Okay. So first and foremost, with the energy of October, collective. Most likely, if you're watching this and already resonating with this, you are already on a path of where you have done the work this year. You have taken accountability and you have moved through a lot of challenges and obstacles and changes that you may have faced this year that were both done by you or out of your control, outside of you. Right? So this year is really a radical opportunity of humanity to wake up and it has not been easy, because that means that a lot of the old elements have to die away. The old structures, the old conditioning, the old ways that we treated ourselves, not honoring our temple, not honoring our authority or our wisdom or our light or our divinity. And that's where we've had both this call and this opportunity to move through these challenges and obstacles to better the self and better all of the shifts and changes to align you to where you were actually meant to be all along, to why you incarnated at this time, to the work that your soul's calling to do for the earth, for humanity, for yourself, and what your truest, highest timeline of your miraculous life looks like, that is full of peace, harmony, love, light, right? But it's not about being all light, right? It's about honoring the polarization, because that's what divinity is. It's the honor of the light and dark and balance, which is interesting because that even was shown, that we kind of spoke about in the beginning of this card of consistency. It has both the sun and the moon, right? It has both this balance of the energy within your divinity, within the true self. And you have to remain consistent on that, because we never stop doing the work. We never stop facing challenges and obstacles through life. It's just that when you ascend and evolve, perhaps you're met with different challenges and obstacles, but you now have the health and the maturity and the emotional intelligence to move through it with a much more higher view, much more grace and balance, right? Just like we know the greatest gurus in the world, they are very calm. They hold this inner calm about their presence. They are not easily ruffled by the external chaoses that kind of go on. They are able to hold their equanimity, their center, and their uprightness. So this is where Spirit is saying, with your protection coming out as work your light advice for your consistency, this month is really about, well, obviously remaining consistent with your spiritual practices, but remaining consistent on where you're applying new habits and routines that actually align with the work your soul spirit wants to do and your higher self wants to do. So if you're a healer, for example, are you embodying that healing element in your life? Are you moving your body in an honoring way? Nourishing your body in an honoring way, treating others and the self with an honoring way. However, with this protection, it's also about boundaries. You need to also know that you are highly protected, right? So as you're helping others, it's also about calling back your power, right? It's not about overpouring. And a lot of those who are healers or helpers or leaders or empaths in the world, those who really connect with the higher view and really stream their life out of the heart, they can tend to sometimes overgive. So with this consistency, it's about obtaining the understanding of the learning that you have been gifted through all the obstacles, challenges, loss, or shifts or changes you face this year, and understanding to call back your power so that you can balance all that you give with how you also receive and nourish the self. Because calling back your power, cutting the cords, and soul retrieval is about not overgiving to depletion, right? There was also something that a dear friend of mine, someone who I deeply love, had said to me a little while ago, and it really struck me. And I even said to him, I said, oh my gosh, I'm going to share this because what a great analogy. And this very important person in my life said, you know, I learned something great the other day, and it was about what is in your cup. And I'm paraphrasing, so I may be resharing the story, not as good as it was told to me. However, he said to me, basically he learned, whatever is in your cup overpours, right? So for example, if you are walking down the road, let's say, and someone bumps into you, and inside of you is still a lot of anger and resentment and frustration, let's say, with where you're at in life. When you get bumped into, what overpours in your cup will be anger, frustration. Rah, why did you bump into me, you dum-dum, or whatever, and it causes the kerfuffle. Whatever is in your cup pours over. Or let's say what is in your cup is deep regret, sorrow, you're still wallowing in all of your grief and you're not dealing with it, taking accountability, moving it through you, allowing it to heal. And let's say that is still your energy. You're still holding in your cup all of this wallowing, this sorrow, this pain. Bumps into you and you just start to burst out in tears. Gosh, everything just goes wrong all the time, and no matter what, I just can't catch a break, and now I'm crying again, and life is horrible, and da-da-da-da-da, and just, I can't seem to get ahead, and it's just this immense inner wallowing of the woe is me. Now, if what's in your cup is calling back your power, for example, and really loving the self, learning from this year, saying, nope, I deserve more. I'm shown where I can take accountability, where I'm worth more. I love myself. I'm integrating these habits. Someone bumps into you, you just say, oh, no problem, or hello, or oops, or whatever. It does not faze you. And just like the gurus, you're not swept up by the chaos that happens around you. You're able to just kind of go, oh, and carry on. Nope, no problem. And it probably would be quickly forgotten about moments later. Like, well, I'm doing this today, I'm going this way, I have this task, or I'm going to go and do something that I really love. It just does not bother you. So this was a beautiful example that I received from a dear, dear friend and someone I deeply love, deeply respect. And I thought, what a beautiful analogy. So perhaps taking that into consideration, your consistency, what is in your cup? Because whatever is in your cup, when it gets knocked to be spilled, will outpour. So whatever's inside, when it's met with something uncomfortable or resistance or a trigger, it will overpour. But that is also a gift in many, many ways, because our triggers are our friends, right? So when you are triggered, and let's say it makes you hysterical, then it's something within you that's historical. It needs to be healed on a deeper level. Because your triggers show you where you need to heal and learn. So if you're triggered by something, it is a gift to show you where you're evolving, where you're needing to transform, where you're needing to look deeper or heal. Because everyone is triggered by different things. That's why it is personal to you, right? Because if we all had the same triggers, it would be a very different story. No one has the same triggers. That's why triggers are your friends, because it's telling you about you specifically, because your triggers are going to be immensely different to someone else's triggers, because it's about what kind of pain body or unhealed wounds or unhealed unconscious beliefs you're still holding on to. A lot like what my friend said about this cup. So where you can hold this consistency and know that you're divinely protected is about calling back your power. It's about your inner authority. It's about soul retrieval. It's about taking this month of October to meditate, to go inward, to recognize the inner being, to study it, and to remain consistent with those spiritual practices so that you are strengthening in your forward movement for what it is that you wish to achieve or accomplish or create or live by in your evolving through life. Because this year has been this immense, beautiful opportunity for humanity to evolve. It hasn't been perceived that way, perhaps. But it is exactly that, right? It is exactly that. We need the dark to elevate to the light. We need the resistance to change, to grow, to heal. Through the uncomfortability is where we learn the most. through the crumbling and the ego deaths and the tower moments is where we learn the most. We have an opportunity for change, but only you can do that. And it requires recognition, accountability, inner honesty, and the willingness to shift it, change it, honor it. So secondly, collective, you got this beautiful expectation. And this one I really love. It says so much just in the artwork itself. I love, love, love this deck. Now this is the Sacred Earth Oracle for anyone who wants it. And it was done by Tony Salerno, an Italian artist. Now, here in this card, this is about the grounding of the buffalo. Like, the buffalo are strong, they are grounded, they are steady, they are wise, rooted to the earth, right? This is about finding your place in the earth, the rooting, the grounding, but in tandem, the wisdom. This is very much like a medicine woman or man, this wisdom and this dragonfly, or depiction of almost a dragonfly or a butterfly, or this re-emerging of a rebirth energy, carrying forth in this re-blooming of your evolving, of your where you're going. This is a very powerful card. So this expectation of what maybe you've wished for your highest timeline, or what your soul and your spiritual team are expecting you, not expecting you because they don't really judge. However, what expectations do you have for yourself? Meaning, what dreams do you have for yourself, and where can you take accountability? So from the expectation, this harmony of both the spiritual and the physical, meaning you need the grounding, you need that solid safety, security established within the self, the inner resilience and strength, your wholeness coming online for your spiritual to actually evolve and bloom and become sustainable. They're one in the same, because only you can do it. And so work your light advice for that was Leap and Lumeria. Very powerful cards, because Leap was you go first, the universe will catch you, right? So for the expectations that you hold, where do you need to also overcome fears, perhaps, limitations? Perhaps you're afraid to shine. Perhaps you're worried of how it will change. Well, you've gone through change this year. I'm sure it's strengthened you on some level or another, taught you something on some level or another, or at least gifted the opportunity. But the spiritual world is saying, well, you have to lead that, right? If you're expecting an outcome, then you have to put in the work. You have to take a chance on self. You have to be willing to shine. You have to be willing to let your voice out. You have to be willing to show yourself. You can no longer hide forever. Yes, this month is about the introspection, but it's also about doing the work. So maybe even building elements behind the scenes or planning for next year in 2026. Who knows? But you have to take the leap. You have to take the chance on self in that aligned direction of what you really want to obtain out of life. And you have to apply that way of being to your life, right? Through your actions, your reactions, your habits, your routines. They now need to also align with what it is that you would like to receive. And that's where Spirit is saying, just take the leap. It's all here for you. There's nothing to worry about. You need to surrender. You need to believe. You need to hold faith. You need to be willing to move forward in those unknown spaces that you know you're really, really wanting, or you're really needing to take a chance on, or that you're passionate about, or that is a driving force, because the universe will catch you, right? All that's for you will never pass you by. It's just how fast or slow you want to go to obtain it, right? And then Lumeria. First and foremost, thank you, because this is phenomenal. Whatever it is that you're doing is truly not only for your highest good, but it's for the highest good of humanity, evidently, because you got Lumeria, which is creating heaven on earth. It's happening. You're creating your own heaven on earth. What is magic for you? Because that's going to be different for everyone. Your wishes, your dreams, your hopes, desires, all the abundance that you could imagine, whether that's happy families, aligned career work, aligned soul tribe, community, unity, joy, love, peace, prosperity, financial abundance. I mean, all of the above, health, clarity, transformation, all of these things. New love, new relationships, renewals, all of it. So this is all there for you. And it's Spirit saying this is what you're doing, is you're creating your own heaven on earth. And by doing so, you truly help the collective. As within, so without. And I say that often through these readings because it's literal now in humanity. How you are inside is a resonance that helps the whole, right? But now we're in a time of each individual having to take radical responsibility in the enhancement of self, in treating their bodies as a temple, this inner divinity, this honor, this grace, this self-love, the self-worth, all of that is necessary for humanity's forward movement, because that is the domino effect of the energy evolving. And that's what connects you to more strong individuals. When you're strong in yourself, you're going to be able to retain pure and true and strong connections. So Spirit's saying it's happening. The other one that you got was dependability. So this I felt was not only external to you, but it's very internal, right? Because until you're really strong in yourself and dependable in yourself, you can't really truly give anyways. And you're not truly dependable. So that would still be a mask if you're not totally doing the inner relationship work. It's because as within, so without, right? So I feel that Spirit's saying here, this is really about your divine masculine, your divine feminine. And we are learning now as humanity how to balance the heart and the mind, right? Because we can get a little too swept up maybe in the emotional realm, and that can become erratic or irrational, too emotional. Or we can get too much in the analytical mind that it is separate. It's not empathetic. It's not unified. It's not understanding or transformative. So it's about balancing the two, right? The left-right brain, the yin and the yang, the masculine, the feminine, the light and the dark, the polarity, the duality. Thus, it becomes divinity. So dependability really means, where can you depend on yourself? Where are you feeling that you still are perhaps searching outside of yourself for validation, let's say, or searching outside of yourself to feel safe or secure, or that you're good enough? And can you truly depend wholly and wholeheartedly on yourself? It doesn't mean that you can't be in relationship, or you can't share, or you can't receive. It means that you first need to be whole in yourself, right? Because just like a relationship, both people need to be whole to come together for a whole relationship. Whether they're together or they're separate, they're whole, resilient. That is a long-lasting, sustainable energy. When one is not whole in themselves, it becomes perhaps toxic or dependability or needing the other. Or it can in some way become imbalanced, right? Because it's not harmonious. It's not even fully authentic in many ways, and quite frankly, selfish in many ways. When we are too woe is me, it's kind of a selfish act in many ways, because you're accountable for your actions, reactions, and how you care for the self, right? So Spirit is saying in the month of October, maybe working on how you can be dependable and resilient alone. Comfortable in your own company, You should always feel whole, whether you're with others or alone. That's a very, very important element. And that's probably why your work, your light advice was awakening, energetic upgrades, a new way of being, and integration. Exactly. So what are you integrating for this new way of being where you can be wholeheartedly dependable on yourself so that you can show up with a full cup? You can spill it over in all the right ways that are not only for your highest good, but the highest good of all that around you. It is balanced. It is honoring. It's not erratic or chaotic, right? So this is really the call that humanity has, because through the chaos is where we're finding the harmony, the balance, and the willingness to shift and change out of the chaos. It's our greatest teacher right now. And this awakening with energetic upgrades is where spirit is saying, like, you are being upgraded. This is why you're becoming dependable on self, because you're integrating new habits, new techniques, new self-awareness, and the willingness to transform for the better in honor of yourself. You're choosing yourself. You're choosing your highest potential in honor of whom you truly and authentically are. And that is no small feat. And it is highly, highly regarded, which means if you're resonating with this reading, then it means that you were always meant to lead a spiritual path in your entrepreneurial journey for the highest and best good of humanity and the earth and the forward movement, regardless of how the form is. Whether you're in natural medicine, whether you're in earthly regeneration, biodynamic farming, perhaps you're there for the new souls that are incarnating and raising the children in the correct ways that actually are of good forces for their development. Perhaps it's coming back into simplicity. Perhaps it's holistic medicine. Perhaps it's sound therapies. Perhaps it's being a leader or a guide for the highest good to educate others in their awakening. Perhaps it is being a healer in whatever modality. The form is regardless, but when it is a spiritually led path, it is that of the highest good of your true authentic self in tandem with the spiritual world for the highest good of humanity. That is the consciousness evolution. So that is why this reading is perhaps so serious for the collective today and for you, because this is no small feat. And this is a very high honor path, but it also requires responsibility. So you do have quite, this is an initiation path, right? So the standard that the spiritual world holds for you is much higher, for example. Incredible. Okay. We'll pull from Work Your Light Tarot just to get some overview advice to finalize this out and where this is leading you and where this is leading for your future work, because this is quite a special reading, and it's quite evident that you are one of the many, or one of the few, perhaps, that are truly the change makers of this time, one of the leaders of this time for the forward movement of humanity, because you're needed. And there's going to be a lot of souls that need you in the future that you will be a guide for, or a driving force, or a voice for the better. And So any final closing, what the collective can expect should they do this work, Spirit, and the highest and best advice for their timeline. Thank you. So only 2 came out. This is very clear today. Oh, wow. Yeah. So you got the Hanged Man and the 8 of Swords. So the spiritual realm is actually holding you at quite a high standard. That is quite evident in today's reading, and what a different energy. It's quite phenomenal. It's very loving but stern, which is quite mirroring to the angelic realm. The angelic realm is very loving, but they're stern, right? They're saying, yeah, this is your task. So the Hanged Man, the brand new view, and 8 of Swords, looking in the mirror. Radical truth. where you need to shift, where you need to change your perspective for the highest and best good of yourself so that you can carry out the highest and best good of all that around you and truly receive what you were always meant to receive. The whole reason why your soul and your spirit incarnated at this time. So this is a very high standard element from the spiritual realm today, collective. This is where you're being really held accountable and where your soul spirit is important, which is why the standard that is upheld from the spiritual world is a little bit more prominent and serious because you're meant for this. So this is not to mess around. This is not to la-di-da. This is about taking it seriously and applying the action forward because you are important and you are evolving and a lot of goodness and harmony in your highest timeline is coming in, but the work is required. The changes of your habits, your actions, reactions, your discipline, your routines, your inner accountability, inner authority, inner worth, boundaries, all of that. Heart forces, balancing the heart and the mind. This is all very evident. Yeah. Incredible. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, especially if you like these readings or if you resonate. I would be honored to hear from you because this is no small feat. It is no small path. It is no easy task. So you should be immensely proud and really honor yourself. Animal spirit advice to close off, please, Spirit. Thank you. Nice, clear, simple. Yeah. Wow. So wombat spirit, be at home. Exactly. Finding that home within yourself, right? To be at home, the whole earth, the whole planet is our home. The whole solar system is our home. So what is your true home within the self? Because that's where you'll feel at home, regardless of where you are, what you're doing, where you're connecting. You will be within that harmony of home. Beautiful. You also got lion spirit. Be courageous of spirit. Yes. You hold the courage. You hold the resilience. That is quite evident in this reading, and it's quite evident to whom you are as a soul spirit. You are immensely resilient. Call back that power. Soul retrieval. Take that leap. You go first. The universe will catch you. Energetic upgrades. A new way of being. Creating heaven on earth. It's happening, right? Staying consistent. Staying brave. Enhancing your will, your mind, your intellect, your heart, the heart of a lion. And applying your wisdom. Because now it's a time of inner radical accountability. And you hold a very powerful destiny. And that is to be honored, respected, loved, and appreciated. You should be immensely proud. So anyways, thank you and many blessings. And work on this energy through October, right? Consistency, expectation, dependability. Much love and light. Cheers.